Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, entitled Narada's Teachings to Vasudeva. Text number 28. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tam tada purusham martya. Tang tada purusham martya. Maharajopalakshanam. Maharajopalakshanam. Vajanti Veda Tantrabhyam. Vajanti Veda Tarantabhyam. Param Jigyasavo Nripa. Param Jigyasavo Nripa. Tam tada purusham martya. Maharajopalakshanam. Yajanti Veda Tantrabhyam. Param Jigyasavo Nripa. Tam tada purusham martya. Maharajopalakshanam. Yajanti Veda Tantrabhyam. Param Jigyasavo Nripa. Tang tada purusham martya. Maharajopalakshanam. Jajanti Veda Tantravya. Ladies, Tam, him, tada, in this age, Purusham, the supreme enjoyer, Martyaha, mortal men, Maharaja, a great king, Upalakshanam, playing the role of, yajanti, they worship. Veda tantrabhyam, according to both the original Vedas and the ritual tantras. Param, of the Supreme. Jigyasavaha, those who want to gain knowledge. Nripa, O King. Translation. My dear King, in Dwapar Yuga, men who desire to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's the Supreme Enjoyer, worship Him in the mood of honoring a great king, following the prescription of both the Vedas and the Tantras. Responsively, please repeat. My dear King, in Dwapara Yuga, men who desire to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's the Supreme Enjoyer, worship Him in the mood of honoring a great king, following the prescriptions of both the Vedas and the Tantras. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada and his followers, or his followers. When Lord Krishna was leaving the city of Hastinapur, Arjuna personally held an umbrella over the Lord, and Uddhava and Satyaki fanned the Lord with decorated fans. Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, 17 and 18. In this way, Emperor Yudhisthira and his followers worshipped Krishna as the greatest of noble kings and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, at the Rajasuya sacrifice, all of the great souls of the universe elected Krishna as the King of all kings, the greatest personality, deserving of first worship. Such a reverential worship of the Lord is characteristic of Dwapara Yuga, as described in this verse, Maharajopalakshanam. With each successive yuga, namely Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali, the condition of human society deteriorates more and more. As mentioned in this verse, the only favorable qualification of the residents of Dwapara Yuga is that they are jigyasavaha, strongly desirous of knowing the absolute truth. Otherwise, there is no good qualification mentioned. The inhabitants of Satya Yuga were described as Shantaha, Nirvairaha, Suridaha, and Samaha, or peaceful, free from envy, the well-wishers of every living entity, and fixed on the spiritual platform, beyond the modes of material nature. Similarly, the inhabitants of Treta Yuga were described as Dharmanishtaha and Brahmavadinaha, or thoroughly religious and expert followers of Vedic injunctions. In the present verse, the inhabitants of Dwapara Yuga are said to be simply jigyasavaha, desiring to know the absolute truth. Otherwise, they are described as martyaha, or subject to the weakness of mortal beings. If the human society of even Dwapara Yuga was clearly inferior to that of Satya or Treta Yugas, we can hardly imagine the truly disastrous condition of human society in Kali Yuga. Therefore, as will be mentioned in the following verses, human beings who have taken their birth in the present age of Kali should attach themselves rigidly to the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to free themselves from foolishness. Om Ajnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langai Gade Gadim Yat Kripa Tadaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinatarana Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So in this verse, we see how the persons living in Dwapara Yuga were worshipping Krishna. And it's explained here that they were honoring Krishna as the king of all kings, the great king. And a verse from the first canto of Bhagavatam is cited, where Krishna was leaving Hastinapur, and Arjuna had held an umbrella over his head. And the others mentioned was Uddhava, Satyaki, that they were also fanning the Lord with different decorated fans. So these are the way that you show respect, show honor to a great king. Right? But this part of the Bhagavatam is getting us ready for understanding how the Lord appears in Kali Yuga. Now, the Lord is described as Tri Yuga, appears in 3 yugas. Right? When Gargamuni was doing the ceremony of Lord Krishna after his birth, he mentioned that he's known as Tri Yuga. He comes in 3 yugas. But later we'll see in the subsequent verse where it is explained that the Lord also appears in Kali Yuga. But his appearance in Kali Yuga is covered. He's known as Chana Avatar, the hidden incarnation. Why? Because different from his appearance in Kali Yuga, where he was in Dwapara Yuga, where he was worshipped as the most honorable king, right? It's mentioned here at the Rajasurya sacrifice. The Lord was the first person worshipped, as suggested by all the members of the assembly Rajasurya sacrifice. But in Kali Yuga, the Lord has a different mode and a different mission. And this verse explains why that mission is there. Because the living entities in Satya Yuga, they were filled with good qualities that are mentioned here. And mentioned actually in the previous verse also. They are santaha, peaceful. And they are nirvardaha, non-envious. Surida, they are well-wishers of every living entity. And samaha, fixed on the spiritual platform beyond the modes of material nature. So, subsequently, the purport explains that in Treta Yuga, the qualities are diminished. Right? And in Dwapara Yuga, they're further diminished. And in Kali Yuga, there are hardly any good qualities. So, when the Lord appears in Kali Yuga, he comes in the form to deliver the fallen souls. I will explain a little bit about that later. But first, let us try to understand what's the situation of the living entities in Kali Yuga. That's us, right? We're Kali Yuga living entities. So Bhagavatam describes their situation very nicely in the first canto, first chapter, text number 10. Prayena alpayusha sabya kalavasmin yuge janaha mandasumandamateyo mandabhagya upadrutaha. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, and unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Purport. The devotees of the Lord are always anxious for the spiritual improvement of the general public. When the sages of Naimisharanya analyzed the state of affairs of the people in the age of Kali, they foresaw that men would live short lives. In Kali Yuga, the duration of life is shortened, not so much because of insufficient food, but because of irregular habits. By keeping regular habits and eating simple food, any man can maintain his health. Overeating, over sense gratification, over dependence on others' mercy, and artificial standards of living sap the vitality of the human energy. Therefore, the duration of life is shortened. The people of this age are also very lazy, not only materially, but in the matter of self-realization. The human life is especially meant for self-realization. That is to say, man should come to know what he is, what the world is, and what the supreme truth is. Human life is a means by which the living entity can end all the miseries of the hard struggle for life in a material existence, and by which he can return to Godhead, his eternal home. But due to a bad system of education, men have no desire for self-realization. Even if they come to know about it, they are unfortunately become victims of misguided teachers. In this age, men are victims not only of different political creeds and parties, but also of many different types of sense gratificatory diversions, such as cinemas, sports, gambling, clubs, mundane libraries, bad association, smoking, drinking, cheating, pilfering, bickerings, and so on. Their minds are always disturbed, full of anxieties, due to so many different engagements. In this age, many unscrupulous men manufacture their own religious faiths, which are not based on any revealed scriptures, and very often people are addicted to sense gratification, are attracted by such institutions. Consequently, in the name of religion, so many sinful acts are being carried out on the people in general. The people in general have neither peace of mind nor health of body. The student brahmachari communities are no longer being maintained, and householders do not observe the rules and regulations of the grihastha ashram. Consequently, the so-called vanaprastha and sannyasis who come out of such grihastha ashrams are easily deviated from the rigid path. In the Kali Yuga, the whole atmosphere is surcharged with faithlessness. Men are no longer interested in spiritual values. Material sense gratification is now the standard of civilization. For the maintenance of such material civilizations, man has formed complex nations and communities, and there's a constant strain of hot and cold wars between these different groups. It has become very difficult, therefore, to raise the spiritual standard due to the present distorted values of human society. The sages of Naimisharanya are anxious to disentangle all fallen souls, and here they are seeking the remedy from Srila Sutta Goswami. So, as opposed to Satya Yuga, where people were peaceful, in Kali Yuga, nobody's peaceful. Everybody's disturbed, always in anxiety. Huh? The householders are known as grihastas. They live in an ashram, grihastha ashram. Ashram means for progressive spiritual life, which, is available in the Grihastha ashram also. Right? But what we have instead of Grihasthas are Grihamedis. Grihamedi means envious persons. Right? And one householder is envy of another householder. Jealous. Prabhupada clearly says, how can you understand who's a devotee? They're not jealous. No jealousy. That's a devotee. So, these are the pitfalls of Kali Yuga. People are not peaceful. They're jealous of one another. One householder is jealous of another householder. Right? One country is jealous of another country. Wars are going on. All due to the bad qualities that are there in the hearts of the living entities in Kali Yuga. So specifically, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to help people in Kali Yuga, get rid of these anartha, these bad qualities, to become free from envy, to become peaceful. And what was that process? Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. This was the external understanding of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. There's also some internal understandings as mentioned by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Prabhupada said that for self-realization in this age, all one need to do is have a picture of the Panchatattva, and before the picture of the Panchatattva, perform Harinam Sankirtan. Simple, nothing complicated, right? Anyone can do it. But people in Kali Yuga are so unfortunate that they don't take. They're not interested. They're busy, working hard to make money. They have some idea. They were educated, so-called educated. Prabhupada calls the modern education a slaughterhouse. Slaughterhouse. It's a slaughterhouse. Right? If a child has some inquisitiveness about spiritual life, that is snuffed out. And they're taught the only important thing is sabse bade rupya, earning money. That's what's important. Previously, a person was known as a good person if they were honest. They had some honesty. And in business, in the old days in India, wasn't by contract. It was by word. I borrow something, I'll pay you back, word. No contract, no credit card, just by word. Right? And a person was known good if his word was good. Right? But now, it doesn't matter whether you're honest or not, whether your word has any value. Only if you have a lot of money, then you're a big man. He's a very big man. Why? Because he has so much money. He may be the biggest duffer, rascal, liar, cheater. But no, he's a big man. This is the unfortunate situation in Kali Yuga. People don't have good qualities. They do unwanted things just because of their jealousy, their inordinate desire for power. Right? They can do anything. We see wars are going on in different parts of the world, all due to jealousness. And Prabhupada mentions they have some complicated arrangements, but it's all based on sense gratification. Right? And a society bent based on sense gratification, hell-bent to enjoy the senses, is no different than an animal society. Prabhupada says, the dog is running on 4 legs, and the animalistic society is running on 4 wheels. But there's no difference. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So the only way to take to install good qualities in the hearts of the Kali Yuga living entities is by the performance of Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. So this verse is setting up for a very, very important verse that is about to come, right? Where the incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Chana avatar, the hidden incarnation of Kali Yuga, is described. It's in Srimad Bhagavatam, and for those who have faith in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they can develop all the good qualities of the demigods, right? What are mentioned here, that was available in Satya Yuga: Shantaha, Nirvairaha, having no envy in the heart, being peaceful. So people should take to this Krishna consciousness movement, take to the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, if they want to be peaceful. If they want to be free from the jealousy of this material world. It's in everyone's heart who comes into this material world. And the only way to get rid of it is by the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, Nambi na kichu nahi ko arda choda bhuvanamaje. In this whole material, Brahmanda, this universe, from the 14 planetary systems, there's nothing to be had but the holy name. In the holy name is everything. But people have no faith. As Prabhupada mentions in the purport, is surcharged with faithlessness. Right? They don't have faith in the holy name. Right? They're only concerned about one thing, and that's sense gratification. So such a materialistic civilization is doomed. Doomed to be, just as the Bhagavatam described, Manda sumanna matayo mandabhagyupadritaha. Very unfortunate their situation is. So this Krishna consciousness movement is specifically meant to elevate the living entities of Kali Yuga to have good qualities, to be truthful, clean, to interact with each other in terms of respect. That's the outcome of spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement. And Srila Prabhupada says that if people want to keep away the effects of Kali Yuga, then they have to take to the Krishna consciousness movement. There's no other way. There's so-called universities, places of education. They're not real education. What is the value? The person teaching the class and giving out degrees, PhD, what is the value? He can't even give up smoking cigarettes, the teacher. Drinking chai, simple habit, they can't give up, but they're handing out PhD. What is the value? Right? No value. Real recognition of education is to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. Without understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, people will remain on the animalistic platform of life. So, as mentioned in the purport, devotees are interested in the elevation of everyone. Right? They're knowing the purpose of life. They're enjoying their relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they want others to experience that. They know, they can see, the devotees of the Lord can see people are suffering. Right? Why are they suffering? They're suffering for want of Krishna consciousness. Right? Without Krishna consciousness, they'll be absorbed in so many anxieties. So real humanitarian work is not feeding the poor. The poor, you feed them, they'll just get hungry again. But real humanitarian work is that to give transcendental knowledge. To give knowledge about our identity as the eternal spirit soul, as Krishna explains to Arjuna in the Bhagavad-gita. And that we're the eternal servant of Krishna. This is real humanitarian welfare work. And it's the business of all devotees to engage in this activity, if they want to be progressive in their spiritual life. So today is also the disappearance day of Srila Raghunandan Thakur, one of the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Raghunandan Thakur was the son of Mukunda Das. Right? So Mukunda Das, he was a Ayurvedic doctor, Vaidya. And he was the Vaidya of the Muslim king. But although he was Vaidya, a doctor, in his heart of hearts, he was always serving Krishna. He was always thinking of Krishna. Once, when he was on a high platform, he was advising the Nawab about some medical treatment. And someone came with a peacock feathered fan to shade the head of the king, the Muslim king. Seeing the peacock feather, Mukunda Das, he thought of Krishna. And he lost consciousness and fell off the platform to the ground. So he fell down in such a hard way, the king thought, oh, he must be injured. So the king ran down. You all right? You all right? And Mukunda Das said, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. And even this Muslim king could understand that this was no ordinary person. Right? And he personally accompanied him to his home. So the same Mukunda Das, that's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 15, text number 120. He had a son, Raghunandan. Actually, he had three sons, but one son's name was Raghunandan. And one day, they had a house deity, Gopinath. Gopinath was their house deity. So Mukunda said, listen, I have some work. You do the bhog offering to the Gopinath. He said, okay. Small boy, not more than 8, 9, 10. So he brought the bhog, set it before Gopinath, and he was praying to the Lord, please take. So he was thinking, Lord is not taking. He's again pleaded, you please take this bhog. And Raghunandan is thinking he's not taking. So Raghunandan began to cry before the Lord. begging the Lord, please take. So the Supreme Lord, he began to eat the offering. And he ate the whole thing in front of Raghunandan. And Raghunandan was very happy. The Lord ate. So when Mukunda Das came back, he said, did you make the offering? Yes, I made the offering. Okay, good. Bring the prasadam. He said, there is no prasadam. He ate everything. And Mukunda was thinking, how is that possible? He ate everything? How? So the next day, again he said, okay, I have to go somewhere. You make the offering. He said, okay. So he didn't go any, he just hid in the bushes. And when Raghunandan was making the offering, he came back to see. And he saw that Gopinath was eating one laddu. He had taken a bite out of the laddu. And when Mukunda Das came there at that time, then immediately Gopinath stopped eating. So Mukunda Das was so filled with ecstatic love for his son Raghunandan, he began to cry and hold the boy and rub his head, and he was shedding tears that your life is perfected because Gopinath came to personally take the bhoga. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to ask Raghunandan, he used to ask Mukunda. He said, Mukunda Das, are you the father of Raghunandan, or is Raghunandan your father? So Mukunda Das folded his hands in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he said, no, he's my father. And anyone who is developed intense love for Krishna, they are also my father. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy. These are the pastimes of the eternal associates of the Lord. So on this day is the disappearance day of Raghunandan Thakur, whose father was Mukunda Das, and we can remember them so that we will develop Krishna Bhakti, an attraction for Krishna. Right now, our attraction for Krishna is not so strong. We have attraction for so many things in this material world, in the form of family, society, country. Even as members of the Krishna consciousness movement, we can be distracted, diverted. We can think that being a devotee means to have some position, to have some power, right? No. Being a devotee doesn't just mean tilak and kantimala and big japamala. No. It means these qualities have to be there. Shantaha, nirvayaha. Then we're a devotee. That we should see in our own devotional service, how we're developing these qualities. If not, then our devotional service will be spoiled. Because we'll take wrong decisions. Life is a matter of decisions. By being fixed in Krishna consciousness, we'll take the right decisions. But if we're not fixed, right, then we'll take the wrong decisions. And that can create a big detour in our devotional service. So it's very important for us to hear about these great associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so that we can understand what is the goal and work towards that, of developing love for Krishna. The other devotee that we need to remember on this day, his disappearance day, is Vangsidas Babaji. Vangsidas Babaji was a unique devotee living in Navadvip, worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was known to Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he was always worshiping Krishna. He had 3 deities, it's described. Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita, 3 deities he worshipped. But he was avadut. And his worship of these deities was so unique and so different. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that his disciples should not associate with Bangsidas Babaji Maharaj because they wouldn't be able to understand his unique way of worshiping Krishna. As he was Paramahamsa and Avadut. Right? So this also is his disappearance day. And we can again pray to such exalted devotees that we can develop our devotional service. Raghunandan Thakur was in Vraj Leela, a Manjari named Kandarpa Manjari. And he also had Leela as Krishna's son, as Kadarpa. Kadarpa and Kandarpa. Right? So he was simultaneously in Vraj Leela and in the Dwarka Leela. And actually, if we make it to the Goloka, back to the spiritual world, there's 2 realms in Goloka. The devotees are in one relationship with Krishna, either in some form. Lord Brahma prays to enter into Braj even as a blade of grass, so that the devotees will walk on its head, right? That's Lord Brahma's prayer. And the other part of Goloka is relationship with the Lord as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So simultaneously, the devotee has entered into Goloka, has 2 pastimes, one with Krishna and one with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? They're both there in the Goloka. And if you look at this picture on the front of the first canto of the Bhagavatam, you see Radha and Krishna, and in the background, you see also in Krishna Loka, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Sankirtan party. So both things are there. So in our conditioned state, it's inconceivable to understand, but we should know that by chanting the holy name of the Lord purely, it's possible to enter into the spiritual world and associate with Lord Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. So if there are any questions, we can try to answer them. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Today, the Golden Jubilee celebration of Hyderabad Temple also. Would you like to describe some pastimes of Prabhupada? And you are there at the time?
At the opening? No. That happened in 76. I was there in 75. We went to Mayapur in 1975. And there was supposed to be the opening of the Krishna Balaram temple that year. So Prabhupada wanted the devotees to be there for the opening. But there's a gap between Gaur Purnima and Ram Navami, which was the opening date. So they organized a Pandal program in Hyderabad. And we went from Calcutta by train. All the devotees were in a reserved bogie. I was, pretty much a new devotee. I just been in the movement about a year and 6 months. And well, just about a year, actually. Yeah, a year and 6 months. And I met for the first time in that train ride our Haridas, and he, I didn't know anything about India or anything, but he bought some cucumbers. And he said that when you eat a cucumber, this is how you do it. You cut the end off and you rub the end of the cucumber, some white foam comes out. He said, that's the bitter taste, and you shouldn't eat that, right? So he did that on both ends and then cut up the cucumber and passed it out. And then we arrived of course, we went through some towns. Vishakhapatnam we went to. And there, Achyutananda, he was also in the bogie. He explained how there's a famous deity of Lord Nrsingadev on the hill, Simhachalam, covered in chandan. Once a year, the chandan is taken off, and so many people come for darshan. That was the first time I heard about Simhachalam. And I think it was in Simhachalam that Prabhupada's godbrother got on the train. Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj. He got on the train, and he had with him all these baskets of lemon rice. Right? So he personally gave every devotee a leaf plate, and he was giving them lemon rice. And I realized that the devotees that lived in India, like Achyutananda and Harida, they all knew him, and he knew them. And they were having a very lively conversation. And then the train started. Maharaj didn't get off the train. And I was like in anxiety, hey, the train is leaving. But they had made arrangements that he would get down in Vijayawada. From Vishakhapatnam, he would get down in Vijayawada. So that was the first time I met Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj, Prabhupada's godbrother. Then when we got to Hyderabad, we were living in the Vrindavan Hotel, which was under construction at the time. And the temple was also under construction. And the deities, Radha Madan Mohan, they were living in a separate place. Like as you go into the temple, there was a little alleyway that you come into. The deities were there. And we had darshan of the deities. We went out on Harinam Sankirtan. And in the evening, Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture in one Maidan. And every night, 10,000 people were coming to hear him. I can remember when he used to get down from the stage, the people would rush to touch his feet, Srila Prabhupada. And the sannyasis were all there, and they would hold each other's danda and make a chain so that the crowd couldn't come and, touch Srila Prabhupada. So every night he was giving lectures, taking questions. And one time, they would write down the question on a piece of paper, and Achyutananda would read them, and then Prabhupada would give a reply. So one question was, Achyutananda read the question, can you show some mystic powers? They asked Prabhupada, can you show some mystic? So Prabhupada replied, the devotee of the Lord is not interested in showing mystic powers. Right? Whatever he's interested in worshiping Krishna, the devotee, not mystic powers. Right? So like that, he gave a reply. And then at the end of his explanation, he said, and if you want to see mystic powers, just see, I've turned so many milechas into brahmanas.
Hari bol.
And all the devotees went, Hari bol. So like that, every evening he was giving lecture. And then we went on to, Mr. Pula Reddy's house, who donated the land. He had a big sweet shop. He was famed, Pula Reddy's Sweets. And we went to his house, and he fed us prasadam and so many rasgullas, right? And I remember Srila Prabhupada came to that program of prasadam at Pula Reddy's house, and he came in a 1959 Chevrolet convertible, right? Which had a unique design, 1959 Chevrolet convertible. And Prabhupada came there, and he spent some time, spoke with Mr. Reddy, and then he left in the same 1959 Chevrolet convertible. And now I went to Hyderabad many years later in the library party, distributing Srila Prabhupada's sets of Srimad Bhagavatam in the libraries. And in a place called Charminar, I saw that same 1959 Chevrolet convertible was still there, and they were renting it. So from there we went, so that was my experience with Hyderabad. And then the following year at Janmashtami, they had the opening. There was a Brahmin named Sampat Kumar who did the opening along with Yashodanandan Maharaj and others. And there's a nice video clip where Yashodanandan is doing kirtan and jumping up and down, and these South Indian Brahmins, Sampat Kumar from Bangalore, he's also dancing and chanting. And Srila Prabhupada said the real installation, even for the Vrindavan temple, is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. You don't need anything else. But just to show the local people that everything went according to the ritual, they had the local Brahmins in Vrindavan do all this ceremony. But the real ceremony is the chanting. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Radha, Madan Mohan, very tall deities. Likewise, they have a very big Jagannath.
Why?
That same time, we went out to the farm that was donated by the Badrukas. Yeah, they donated a farm, 650 acres. They gave to Srila Prabhupada. And I remember Srila Prabhupada was sitting under a tree and on a platform, a little cushion there, and he was describing how to establish Varnashram in this land in near the Hyderabad temple.
When Srila Prabhupada was so clear about the installation of the deities, nowadays why so much elaborate yajnas and process? Is it required? And then very little kirtan happened. I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe they haven't read the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada clearly explains the real installation is the chanting the holy name. Some things were introduced after Srila Prabhupada left that he never placed so much emphasis on. So we have to be careful about that. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. You told about the internal qualities of a devotee, like the non-enviousness, peacefulness, and non-jealousness. So, at what stage of devotion we start developing those qualities, like in the beginning stage, in the middle stage, or
right now? You develop those qualities.
So do we have to practice them artificially to inculcate in us, or
nothing works artificially? Should be genuine. In as much as we have faith in the chanting of the holy name, that the holy name is non-different from Krishna, all those qualities will develop. So we don't have so much faith. It's a question of our faith. But that faith will develop as we go on chanting. Hare Krishna, Hare. One devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, how long does it take to become self-realized? And Prabhupada fired back, within a second. Within a second. What, you don't read the books? He said. Maharaj Katvanga, he surrendered within a second. So it's in as much as we surrender to Krishna, all the good qualities will develop. The problem is we don't surrender.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, this like in the class also you are talking that how this devotees, they have love for Krishna, and then we also hear this Krishna Prem practically every day in the morning when we chant this 10 Namaprad. So exactly how we kind of understand what is this Krishna Prem is in a kind of becomes sometimes very difficult to. It's like
Krishna Prem means you're attracted to Krishna. You're attracted by the beauty of Krishna, attracted by Krishna's name, attracted by Krishna's form, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's teachings. Right? But mostly we're only attracted by Krishna Prasadam, which is also okay, right? But gradually we'll become attracted by everything related to Krishna. And the devotee prays that like that. Let my mind be attracted to everything connected to Krishna. But understanding Krishna Prem completely, you can do only when you have Krishna Prem. We have some inkling or indication in this material world, like a mother's love for her child. She's even changing the diapers of the child, right? And has so much affection for the child without any expectation in return. Right? So that gives us a hint. Love for Krishna without any idea of something in return. People come, they put money in the hundi. Okay, I gave 50 rupees. I want to pass the test. Okay, I gave 50 rupees. My business should increase. I should get 50,000 rupees. This is called doing business with Krishna. So pure devotion is something beyond that. That without any expectation in return, I do something for the pleasure of Krishna. So learning how to do that is the process of devotional service. And it can only happen under the guidance of a devotee who knows that. Then we can get it. That's why reading Srila Prabhupada's books is so important. Associating through Shabda, Brahma, with Srila Prabhupada as much as we can. Hare Krishna. And ultimately, it's causeless mercy. We need mercy. You can't, by your scholarship, obtain it. By your effort. Those should be there. Scholarship and effort. But to actually get Krishna Prema, it's mercy. Only mercy. And if you're very greedy for that mercy, you can get it. It's the amount of lolyam, our greed that we have. Okay, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Raghunandan Thakur ki, Vangshi Das Babaji Maharaj ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.